Orale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. This is your host, Jorge Martin, and we are on YouTube, Familia. Please, por favor, give us a like and subscribe. We keep bringing you some great content, including this exclusive interview right now that I'm so pumped up about. But first off, I also want to make sure you're going to fantasypoints.com. And our invitado de lujo has a bit of a connection to Fantasy Points. But hey, you know what? When you go to fantasypoints.com, use the promo code 22familia10 and I'll get you 10% off your subscription, the already reduced 25% off rate. And you get some of the great fantasy minds. John Hanson, Joe Dolan, Graham Barfield, Wes Hubert, Tom Brawley, Scott Barrett. I mean, just some of the best fantasy minds, some of the great content that's out there. And I'm going to save you some. It's going to help you win your leagues. So, I mean, you got trade deadlines coming up. We got fantasy football playoffs coming up around Thanksgiving, starting up around after Thanksgiving. It is the money time. Get in there. Get into fantasypoints.com. And our player, we're going back in the box, Familia. Reaching out to former Major League Baseball players. You guys remember my connection to Major League Baseball, and this next one. I mean, he played for my childhood team, so definitely very special to have him on. He had a 16-year Major League career where he won 151 games, even though he hardly ever threw a pitch above 90 miles an hour. Yes, he is a part of that esteemed number 49 club. Yes, the Knuckleballer Brotherhood, which for me, keep that fraternity growing, keep it going. He was the epitome of a workhorse, lead caballo, as I love to say on this show for Bell Cow running backs. But he 9 times in his career, he went over 200 innings in a season. And 6 of those seasons he pitched for my Dodgers. And most of that time he was on what the Hall of Famer Tommy Lasorda called the first completely international starting rotation. Though our guest, he represented Italy at the time. So for the past 15 years, he's been broadcasting Arizona Diamondbacks games, and in his free time, he is an absolutely avid fantasy football player. So bienvenido, or for our Italian listeners, benvenuto to the Candyman, Tom Candiotti. Tom, Candy, welcome. Bienvenido.
And thanks for having me on here, man. This is going to be a blast.
Oh, this really is a blast. I love this because I think it kind of takes our listeners and our fans kind of behind the scenes and just kind of shows that these players like you guys who stood on that mound and in front of 50,000 people and still and delivered love and passionately play this game of fantasy football just like the rest of us. But I do want to ask a couple of baseball things just to kind of get kind of warm us up a little bit.
Like we did that.
Well, it is 5 o'clock somewhere. So the knuckleball, it's such I've always been intrigued by it. I grew up a Charlie Huff fan growing up, and I watched the Necro brothers and so many who came before that, and you're a part of that brotherhood. How did you start to throw that pitch, and kind of like when did it become something where it's like, okay, I can stand on a mound and throw this confidently?
It was a pitch that I just always had as a kid. And I think it developed, I was one of those kids that would just wait for my dad to get home from work. He's in a carpool and about that time, I would just be out in the front lawn waiting for him. If it was basketball season, basketball was out there. Football season, he had to play catch football. Baseball, he had his glove out there. So every time he would get home from work, whatever it was, the glove would be there, the ball would there. Before he could even get in the house, he had to play catch with me. And so he had his knuckleball that he would try to throw. And so I tried to do the same thing. And somehow from that, it just kind of developed as I aged and got a little older, a little bit more mature. I just always had that pitch. Now, it was always like kind of a fun pitch. It wasn't anything really serious that I maybe occasionally threw it in a game, but I always had that, and I always played catch with it all the time. There's everyone on the team seems to have a knuckleball. Right? That was like the fun pitch, and so it just kind of developed that way, and it went from league to league, and then finally I got to the major leagues, and my stuff was a little short, as you've seen. Didn't throw hard enough, had a good curveball, had good control, but I needed something else. And I got caught in spring training once, screwing around, throwing a knuckleball. And I had a catcher, Bill Schroeder, who now does the TV stuff for the Milwaukee Brewers. He was my catcher in Double-A. And so I was beating him up, hot spring training day. He's probably caught about 7 bullpens. I'm the last guy because I'm the low man on the totem pole. Sure enough, I just start throwing these knuckleballs. I'm beating him up, and he's, I'm laughing. He's getting all pissed off. And then I look behind me, and the pitching coach is there. And I'm going, oh, man. And so, yeah, they called me in after that. They wanted me to become a knuckleball pitcher.
Oh, how awesome. So was around that time, was there an aha moment that just kind of said, "Oh, I can do this at the major league level"?
Sal Bando was one of the guys that was, he was like an assistant to the general manager at that time. So he was in the office when they were telling me this, because they were probably going to release me. And he said, look, I can hit you right now. He's retired, right? I can hit you because all you have to me is 2 pitches. You have a curveball that's good, and you have a fastball that's not good. So I'm just going to sit on your curveball because I know you can't throw your fastball by me. And so, of course, I was pretty offended by that. And I said, well, why don't you go grab a bat right now, and we can go out and we can see if you can hit me. And he goes, no, you don't have to be like that. I go, you just told me you could hit me. All right, let's go, So, but anyway, I really fought that. And because they wanted me to throw knuckleballs exclusively. And I go, wait a minute, obviously I had good enough stuff to get to the major leagues, and, I was 6-6 without throwing a knuckleball. So, it wasn't like it was that bad. And so, I fought it, and eventually I kind of came around because it meant whether I could keep my job or not, and went to winter ball and started working on it there a lot, and signed a minor league free agency with the Cleveland Indians. And they gave me the ball, and they acquired Phil Necro that spring training. And Phil was 47 years old at the time. So it was like my own personal pitching coach, right? I could play catch with him every day. And he didn't really teach me how to throw the knuckleball because I could already throw it, but he taught me how to pitch with it. And it was awesome. And so that's how my career kind of took off. I think that year I had 17 complete games, maybe 200 and some innings pitched. I don't know, 250, 60. So it was, it was, it just weird how all of a sudden that all happened.
Do you still break it out every once in a while?
Yes, I have 2 boys. I have one that's, he's on a full ride to Wichita State right now as a pitcher, but he's 6'5" and he throws the ball 95 miles an hour, but he still tries to throw it. I have another one that he's almost done with his collegiate career, and he can throw a knuckleball too. So he's got a much better one, but I can throw one good for about 50 feet, and then I move back to 60 feet, and I can't quite reach it. Over, man.
Yeah, they say that the power pitchers, it's once it's gone, it's gone. But yeah, the guys who throw under, who throw sidearm or just throw the knuckleball, that they could just kind of keep going with it, even into well past the days. But yeah, no, it's awesome. It's good that your sons have kept the tradition going. So always great. Hopefully keep seeing the Candiotti name on a pitching mound is just awesome. So I wanted to ask. So who was a pitcher a hitter who just could not touch your knuckleball?
It's kind of a diverse group. There's a lot of hitters that just wanted nothing to do with it. And then there's some hitters that no matter what I threw, they always seem to hit it. I could never figure that out. But one guy that really had a tough time with me, a couple of them I remember. One was Spike Owen.
Oh,
I don't know if he ever got a hit off me, to tell you the truth. And then another one, remember Vinny Castilla from
yes.
Yeah, so Vinny had a terrible time with anything slow. He could turn on a fastball with the best of them, but anything slow, he had a tough time. I'd have to pull up the career numbers. I don't know what they are, but he had a really difficult time hitting a knuckleball. And some of the guys that hit me well, the guy that I didn't like facing was Larry Walker. Of
Oh,
course, especially in Colorado, because no breaking stuff at that time would even work at all. That's pre-humidor days, and so balls flew, they didn't break. I mean, it was a mismatch for a knuckleball pitcher there, and yeah, I definitely took my lumps in Colorado.
oh, what? Yeah, you're not the only one. Yeah, so many guys just abandon their breaking stuff when they go there. Yeah, that was yeah. Well, you're not alone on Walker owning them, because he did it all the way to he's done it all the way to Cooperstown. So no, that's awesome. But you know what? I want to know. Can you kind of give me a picture of what it kind of the intestinal fortitude it takes to stand on a mound and throw a knuckleball, which is going to be traveling 60 miles an hour, to guys who are hitting 90? I mean, knowing that it's good, more than likely it's going to break, but if it doesn't break, it could get turned around in a heartbeat. What does it take to be able to throw that?
Well, it's you really can't think about it, to tell you the truth. I mean, it sounds hard, but I'll never forget this. It's kind of a funny story. The first time I ever got called up to the major leagues was with the Milwaukee Brewers. And so my first outing, I'd never been to a major league spring training camp. So the catchers didn't know me at all. And
Oh,
the catcher was Ted Simmons. So this is 1983 with the Milwaukee Brewers. We're in Kansas City. So I get called the game coming out of the bullpen. I don't know what the score was or what was happening. I can't quite remember. Other than I run out there and I get to the mound, and Harvey Keene gives me the ball, and Simmons is there, and he goes, "What do you throw?" And I go, "Oh, fastball, curveball, slider, change. Once in a while, I throw a knuckleball." He goes, "Just show me what you got." Said, okay. I don't even know the guy. And so, throw my warm up pitches. So, first batter I'm going to face is UL Washington. So UL Washington comes up there. He's got his toothpick in his mouth, stuff. And so the first pitch, the first sign I get from Simmons is a knuckleball. I would throw like this. I was a regular pitcher. I didn't even throw knuckleballs really. And he calls the first pitch I throw in the major leagues a knuckleball. And I go, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. This thing might go over the backstop. It's like you're not feeling enough emotions out there and enough energy and enough adrenaline. And now I got to throw a knuckleball. I want to throw the ball through the backstop, right? And I threw it for a ball. And so you kind of fast forward a year later or times later, I see Ted when he's out of the game. And I said, why did you call the first pitch knuckleball for me? And he goes, well, you threw all your other stuff and it was all horrible. So he knew something that I didn't know. He knew that almost everybody didn't know except him. In 8 pitches I got, he knew I was going to be a knuckleball pitcher.
Oh, that's part of the reason why he's in the Hall of Fame now. So
There's another reason, right?
Do you have a favorite? I mean, because the pitcher catcher relationship when it comes to the knuckleball, especially with knuckleballers, is special because they have to do their own different mitt. Do you have a special relationship with a particular catcher?
Well, it seemed like most of the time the knuckleballers, you always got the backup catcher. I mean, like when I was with the Dodgers, there was a lot of times I did throw to Piazza, but and Mike was actually pretty good at catching the ball. He wasn't that really good about throwing guys out, because guys want to run on you a lot, but he could catch it pretty well. But he most of the time I would get the backup guy, so it was either Carlos Hernandez, who was outstanding back there. Tom Prince was there. I think one of my favorite catchers to pitch to was Sandy Alomar Jr. And
Oh,
he was rookie of the year in 89, I believe it was, maybe 90 with the Cleveland Indians. And I enjoyed throwing to him because he could not only catch it, he was really mobile. He blocked it really well when it was moving, great that day. And he had a cannon to throw guys out. I mean, he was like, to me, he stopped the running game. And so that really kind of swung the needle in my favor big time. And so he was probably the favorite of all the catchers I threw to.
Oh man, I'm actually kind of surprised he hasn't become a major league manager, because that, I mean, in my 8 years with the Dodgers, and I caught him in his last year in the big leagues, one of the great clubhouse presences, and he could connect to every part of the clubhouse. So hopefully, maybe someday.
Oh, because he's put his time in. He's been around baseball. He has the pedigree from his dad. The family itself. I mean, he's yeah. If anyone deserves it, Sandy would be. He'd get my vote.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to shift over to the football side a little bit, because one of the things that we know about professional athletes, professional baseball players, that they love competition, just love competition. And when this first came, this idea first came to you, how did you kind of gravitate to it? Kind of how did it come about?
It's a really weird thing. So this is early '90s. I was with the Dodgers. I want to say it might have been about '93, and Chris Gwynn, Tony's brother, was on the Dodgers in that particular year, whatever year that was. I think it was '93, and so he's the one that kind of introduced me to it. He goes, "Do you know anything about fantasy football?" And I go, "No, I have no idea. I've never even heard of it before." And so we would talk about it and stuff, and he goes, "Let's maybe we should get like a league for the Dodgers." I said, "Yeah, it sounds good to me, whatever." And so we did. And we got enough guys. Everyone put, I think at that time it was like $1,000 or something like that. And everyone put $1,000 in. And then, we had all the rules down. We were writing stuff, for probably like, God, seemed like about a month. We were writing, well, what if this guy gets this? And what if, it's all hand. There's no format or anything, right? At least that we knew of. And so, we got it together, and it was fun. So we did a draft, the whole thing. It was a blast. I think we had so much fun. It was in the locker room at Dodger Stadium. And I never laughed so hard in my life with guys, picking guys. We had no idea. We're a bunch of baseball players thinking we knew football at that time. And, no one's doing your homework for you. You couldn't get information. You didn't even have computers really then. And so all the scoring was done off the USA Today. Whatever the stats and that thing showed, we had to do it by hand. The whole thing, that's what it was. You can't bring your hometown paper and say, nope, one more reception here, or nope, one more sack here. Doesn't work. Whatever the USA Today said. So with that kind of evolved. And then later on, when I got to the Oakland A's, I did the same thing. I became the commissioner there also. And I made handbooks for everybody. So they all had binders, and they carried on the road with them, when you're in September, late August, September, whatever. And so guys are like studying their their fantasy, their handbooks on the plane and stuff while we're going. And at that time, to make a trade, there was a sheet that I had in there that, this team trades this thing for whatever, and it has to go, once it gets to my hands, then it's official. So a lot of guys will sign it, but if I don't get it, I don't know, so guys will change their mind and they'll
Oh,
and switch. And so everyone's mad at each other because someone will say, "No, that's a bad trade," and then they want to rescind it. I go, if I get it, then it's over, So they'd always rush it right to me. Now I could be standing out like in batting practice. All of a sudden, here comes AJ Hinch out running out with a piece of paper to me. We just made a trade, and I had to put it in my pocket because he didn't want to leave it in my locker because someone might get it and rip it up. So we did that, and last. But I tell you what, once all the online sites that came on that made all the scoring, automatic and going, and that became like even more fun as a commissioner because you are always like in the middle of some kind of argument about scoring, about waivers, about everything. It became like a big pain in the butt, but the best thing about it was that it kept everybody together in the off season. It kept us all your teammates for 5, 6 months, and then you don't see people for another 5 or 6 months. And so this kept everybody kind of together. And I thought that was the cool thing about it.
That really is amazing, especially going the way it can just kind of keep going through, because baseball, unless you make the playoffs and you're playing late, you could be done at the end of early October and don't see them again until February. Now that's awesome. Now you mentioned that sometimes during batting practice trades, any trades ever get consummated during games?
Oh my God, I'm one of the funniest ever. So I'm when at with the Dodgers, when you're pitching, you get to go in the day before you pitch and you sit in the video room. And there you can watch, the different camera angles, and you get a better, instead of sitting in the dugout, you get a better feel of the game and who you're going to pitch against the next day and what they're looking at, you know, all their tendencies and stuff. And so I'm in there and I'm listening to Vin Scully, who's doing the game on TV, and Eddie Murray is there along with Wayne Kirby, and they're talking back and forth, and I know they're uh, one of them's trying to get Marshall Falk, and so I know they're trying to swing a trade, right? And they're on the bench. They're both bench players, and they're talking like crazy, like back and forth, and the hands are going like this. And I hear Vin Scully. I'm listening to it and watching it, and he's going, now this is a perfect example of a veteran player with all these statistics and all these things, trying to teach a young kid, Wayne Kirby, the finer points of baseball. And I lost it. I'm cracking up. I go, Vin, they're trying to make a fantasy football trade. I mean, I was dying laughing. Yeah. And I was there with Manny Mota, and Manny Mota's going, "What are you laughing at?" I go, Vin just said they're talking football right now. Everywhere. That happens everywhere, not just with the Dodgers. I mean, everywhere. I mean, there's so much downtime during a baseball game that, it keeps things kind of lively.
Well, when we talked the other day, you shared a fun story from the Oakland clubhouse. I'd love it if you could share that one, because please.
I will. So this would have been 1998 or 99. I think it was 98. So we had our little draft and the whole thing. And, same thing, 12-team league. Everyone's got their team and stuff. And Ben Grieve is a very, very competitive guy. And so he was a rookie that year. In fact, he was rookie of the year, playing right field for us. And he had one of the guys on his team, top guys, is Jerome Bettis. And so now this is when Jerome was with, I think he had just left maybe the Rams, and he's with the Steelers now anyway. So he is just complaining about it, because there was probably a couple weeks stretch where Jerome just wasn't maybe getting the numbers that Ben wanted or whatever. And so he was underperforming in his eyes. And so he was just bashing him. I'm going, God, this guy's really good, man. Give him a break, one of these things. And he goes, I'm dropping this guy. He's so bad. I'm going, all right. So, you know what? I'm just going to screw around here. So I call up the Pittsburgh Steelers. I talk to a PR guy there, puts me in touch with Jerome. I'm assuming it's Jerome. And so I tell him the story I just told you. And I said, would you mind calling the locker room I gave him the time when we're in for batting practice, and ask for Ben Grieve, and just, give him a few nice words. And he goes, I'd love to. So sure enough, I tell almost everybody on the team this is happening. So everyone seems to be waiting for the call. And so sure enough, the clubhouse manager, gets the call, and he calls Ben. Hey, Ben, you got a phone call. And so Ben goes in and gets it. He's goes, hello, and he's just on the phone, and we're all watching him, and his eyes are like, he can't even say a word, and he hangs up, and everyone's going, what was that? He goes, that was Jerome Bettis. I said, he was yelling at me. He goes, just hold on to me. I'm going to be better. He goes, how does he know I even have him? And of course, we're all just dying. Just a rookie that just had no idea, right? Oh, my God. It was so little dirty there.
But you know what?
Side, actually.
So what was that?
There's probably more on the mean side by me doing that to a young kid. But hey, you're a rookie. That's what happens.
Rookie hazing, yeah, just get him a part of the brotherhood at that point. Yeah, just welcome him in. That is, I think that was even better than when you told it to me the first time. I'm like, but that to me, I mean, it just shows a lot of the competitiveness. I mean, just incredible competitors that you have to be to excel in Major League Baseball. And I know that transfers to wanting to win at this fantasy game. You've played for almost 30 years now. And you guys love the competition. I mean, when did it really start to become serious for you?
Well, I think, really from the very first part when you got to put $1,000 in the kitty,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of money in there to win. So I think it was like $1,000 to get in. And then I think it was, if you lost each week, it was $100 you had to put back in.
Oh.
So, that's $600 more each week. And then I think it was $25 for every time you added a player on your roster. And so all this stuff added up, where it got to be like, okay, wait a minute, this is really worth paying attention to. And of course, when I retired from baseball, I don't quite play like that, but we're our own league, our own money leagues and stuff like that, where it's probably pretty similar to that. So it keeps you going and keeps you like really in tune with what's going on. And I'm sure guys are watching every show they can. They're on probably two or three different sites trying to get information. It's like the big thing, right, is information. That's why Fantasy Points is so great, because John Hanson does an awesome job there. And I've known John for, gosh, since the mid 90s, when I think he was with Fantasy Guru at the time.
Uh-huh.
uh, and so I've known John, been friends with John forever, and he's always given me that information. So I always feel like I'm one step above everybody else.
And that was and apparently yeah, you told me you threw you played catch with his son.
Yeah, it was great. It was now I'm with the Diamondbacks announcing the games for the Diamondbacks. So we go into Philadelphia, and Brad Ziegler, who was also a pitcher on the Diamondbacks, who knows John very well also, and uses his service. We go over to his house on a day off, and so he invites us over. We have dinner. Joe Dolan's there. A bunch of guys are there. So we have pizzas and the whole thing, and then we get done, and he wants me to throw batting practice. And I go, yeah, let's do it. I can throw batting practice. Throw it to my sons all the time. So we go out to his backyard, and I'm just throwing knuckleballs. And, everyone wants to grab a bat and stand up there and see what a knuckleball looks like. And we spent probably, oh gosh, at least over an hour out there throwing. And it was just such a fantastic night.
Oh man, and yeah, and you're right. I mean, John. I mean, being the guru, he's just, yeah, just keeps bringing the great information, passing along the great vibes for everybody to help them win their leagues. And now you told me you played in 2 leagues right now. How's the season treating you so far?
So far, so good. I lead the league in points, but my record
Ooh.
is 4. And I had a great draft. Thanks a lot to Fantasy Points. But I'll tell you my team in a nutshell, and you'll try to figure out. And a lot of these guys are accumulated through trades, but I'll tell you anyway, and you probably don't realize how I got these guys. So my first pick of the draft was Jonathan Taylor. I had number 1 pick, which I ended up trading for Christian McCaffrey. So he became
Oh.
my guy. So like in week 2, I got McCaffrey. So I kind of hit that at the right time. It comes back around, and I drafted AJ Brown, and who I later traded with Curtis Samuel to get Cooper Kupp. So now I have Kupp and McCaffrey. And then my next pick was Josh Allen, which I kept. He's still on my team. So those are my top 3. And then let's see, right after that, my other running backs now are Ramondre Stevenson, um, Kenneth Walker, um, Devontae Adams, Gabriel Davis. Uh, my tight ends are a little weak, but I go for the home run and Taysom Hill. along with Dalton Schultz. I've kept him on my bench. He was one of the guys I picked up in the draft. And I have the 49ers defense, and my kicker is Carlson. And so I am just like clobbering everybody on points, but I have given up more points than any. But in our league, we split the amount of not the competition pool, but also the total points pool.
Uh-huh.
So the breakdown is 60, 25, 10, and 5. And so it protects people that have these great, that can score all these points, but just happen to go against someone that goes off that week. You're still rewarded for trying to keep improving your team and trying to get as many points as you can get. And so it's really worked out great. I've had some great guys in the league. I've had Hall of Fame bowlers in the league with Chris Barnes. I've had Jason Kidd in my league at times. There's always like a spot or two every couple of years that opens up. And so I just usually get one of my buddies and they come in and play.
So we did get a submitted question for this. And it apparently you're being hit hard by buys this week. And so what's happening is our listener, his name is Josh from New York. He said that would you because he heard about a scheme change that the Rams are undergoing. So because of that, will you trade him Cooper Kupp for Allen Robinson?
I have to think really hard about that one. Oh man, no, but I think it's always important to go out, and at least what I try to do is I keep trying to attain or get or acquire, the better player all the time. John taught me that a long time ago. And when you can't, you got to play the matchups, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I might give up a lot to get a premier player. But as long as you can find someone that's willing to do that their team is hurting a little bit, or a guy's really underperforming. Like after I traded McCaffrey, I tried to get Jonathan Taylor back. The guy won't trade him back to me though. I said, I'll take him.
Oh, I'll tell you, in one of my leagues, actually formerly the Dodger front office league, which is now kind of half and half front office and alumni. And I drafted Jonathan Taylor 101. And when I had the idea, I kept thinking maybe we should grab McCaffrey, but my partner wanted to go Taylor. And I was like, okay, but if we'd only taken McCaffrey instead. But that was the thing. And Familia, for those who don't know, Josh from New York is president of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Josh Rawich, friend of the show, also been invitado on the show. He tipped me off that you love to trade. You
love it. I will love to trade, and really one of the reasons why I traded Taylor at that time to get McCaffrey. I mean, I was up in the air, but almost drafting him. I mean, I was flipping a coin between the two at the first pick. Was the bye week at that time when he was still with the Panthers. The bye week is week 13, where Taylor's bye week is week 14. That's the first week of our playoffs. And so I don't want to lose who I thought was going to be my best player the first week of the playoffs. And so that really motivated me more than anything to be able to try to get McCaffrey. And then, of course, I threw in another sweetener. I can't remember who it was. It was, I don't know if it was Jaco. I can't remember who I threw in to get him, but I had to sweeten the pot. And it was Deontay Johnson, actually. And so I traded, threw him in there with him. I didn't really like the way things were going for Pittsburgh at the time. And so I go, you know what, he's just going to be an ordinary receiver right now till this quarterback gets, situation gets straightened out with Trubisky and also Pickett. And so, all right, let's give him up right now. And that's how I got him. So hopefully, knock on wood, it's going to work out well. It looks good after that last game he had with the Niners.
Well, was it first time in NFL history first time in 17 years in the NFL that a player ran and passed for a touchdown. So since LaDainian Tomlinson did it in 2005. So yeah, McCaffrey, CMC is just, He's such a cheat code, just such an incredible player to have. I mean, these players now going forward are, because as you mentioned, you're Trader Tom. You love to trade. Any guys that you're targeting that you want to try and get you over the hump for the stretch run and the fantasy playoffs?
I will, but I need to work on my bench first. I need to acquire some talent, and you got to do that through the free agent, through the waivers, because I don't really want to trade the nucleus that I have right now. But if I'm going to acquire somebody, maybe they have some good matchups or whatever it is, I need to be able to, hit the waiver wire and get a little bit lucky there. So I have some, I get some talent, because I depleted a lot of it by getting these guys. Like I said, throwing sweeteners in, guys like Deontay Johnson and stuff. But I do like the two guys that I'm looking maybe to move is Pickens. He's got a chance. I still have
Mm.
him on my bench. Um, Mooney, maybe. The problem is I'm playing one of the guys whose quarterback is Fields now that I might want to keep, Darnell Mooney now for a little bit until I play him before. I'm not sure how that's going to work out with Claypool right now going to the Bears. So we'll see, that. But I'd like to get an extra running back. I really thought James Cook would really come on. But that looks like that's,
Mm.
the other way right now with the Himes trade. And so, so I would like to have like another running back, on my roster.
But you know what? Pickens should be able to get you something because now, since the Claypool trade, it's small, smaller target tree. So, and he was already starting to show a great connection with Kenny Pickett. So he might be something that, especially I'll tell you this, because I know they're on a bye this week, but that could help you when he comes back. If he has a big game, all of a sudden, then it's just trade high on him. But yeah, you might. I think he might be something. Yeah, Mooney. It's tough with Mooney because they just got Claypool. They're not passing as much. But yeah, the guy with Fields might want to stack him up with that one. So
Yeah,
what's your favorite draft flow? Oh,
those are my trade bait guys. Those two guys, So if I can land somebody like a running back somehow, some way, it doesn't have to be a good running back, but a pretty good running back just to have on my roster in case something happens to one of the other guys.
now, kind of what kind of draft philosophy do you have? Do you like to go heavy running backs? Do you like to go quarterback early or go wide receiver early? Any kind of steadfast philosophy that you go with?
I used to be like running back heavy, like all the time. First three picks, boom, boom, boom. I'm having running backs. But right now, it seems to me like receivers score more than running backs. We play at a half point PPR, and with bonus. So if you get 100 yards, you're getting 3 points bonus. Also, with the quarterback situation, our quarterbacks get 5 points a touchdown, not 4, and so
Mm.
that's what makes Allen even more so. And 300 yards will give you an extra 3 points too. 400 yards will give you another 3 points. So they can score quite a bit, but I when I go into the draft, I'm really not looking to go one way or the other now. I'm just looking to like, okay, what player is going to come to me right now? What are my options here when it gets to me? This year was easy. Well, it wasn't really easy, but I mean, I couldn't go wrong with either McCaffrey or Taylor, from the start of the season. Luckily I ended up with McCaffrey as of right now, knock on wood. But you know, and I do have him backed up with Elijah Mitchell, which is good. I do have Homer backing up Walker, so I'm guessing he's going to be the guy instead of DJ Dallas. So we'll see, just a couple insurance policies that I have there on guys that I'm just not quite sure about.
No, I hear you. Yeah, that's the thing. And you know what? And this is the time to start getting those insurance policies for for the fantasy playoffs because I know you're going to get to the fantasy playoffs because you'll trade your way into it. I mean, yeah, when you're getting that many points, and McCaffrey's definitely going to help. Now you you get him, and now he's on bye week this week. So uh,
Right.
now you know looking at, one of the things that, and we kind of talked about this last week, the analogy of comparing starting pitchers with running backs. You having been a starting pitcher, can you see the correlation, the analogy, kind of the comparison to the stud running back?
Can't win without him. You can't. Same with a good starting pitcher. You just can't win without those guys. You need to have them. And so, and not that they're going to hit every week at all. And just like a starting pitcher, they're not going to be maybe dominant every single week. I think even Kershaw is going to get hit, but for the most part, he's going to go out there. He's going to give you tremendous stats every time he takes the mound. Whereas a running back, he's going to get somewhere, around 125, combined yards at least. You can throw a touchdown in there. So he's going to get you, like in our scoring, somewhere around, between 20 and 25 points, you're hoping. And so, that's a big start. I think one of the best years I ever had in fantasy, it's probably 6-7 years ago or something like that. I ended up with Le'Veon Bell, who was, he was a stud at that time. And also David Johnson, who was a stud at that time with the Cardinals. And so I had those two guys. And so, once the game started on Sunday, I just look at the computers, just click, 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 click. Points are just rolling like a Rolodex. I'm going, God, this is great, man. So I know the value of having, a guy like a McCaffrey, and if you could, land another, guy like that, that's, it's like, turn out the lights, right?
And it really is. Yeah. When you get multiple of those guys, I'm with you though. I like to be able to get my receivers too, because it does seem like there's more of them getting more points as it becomes a passing league. But man, I will say one of the things that may be happening next year, I think people are going to start taking quarterbacks earlier, the stud quarterbacks, because I just think there's such a big break between the great ones and the next tier on that one. The Allens, the Mahomes, and those guys. It's I think it's like 3 or 4 guys, and then it just big drop after that. Oh my goodness, this has been awesome. What any to people out there who may be casual players, is there a tidbit of fantasy advice that you'd want to pass along, or a great lesson?
Well, I think you hit on it. Number one is make sure you have, your stud running backs, and you have some depth on that. But as you get to this time of year, man, pay attention to the bye weeks and the schedule coming up for guys. Pay attention to that. Particularly if you have a pretty good team right now, look at your playoff matchups. Because if you don't have good matchups in the playoffs, you're probably not going to win. And the goal is to win the whole thing. So, look at guys, trade for guys that have those matchups, and you'll probably, even if you have to give up a little more than what you think is fair to get that kind of matchup, that's where I go.
Yeah, I know. For me, I will add to that. I love to check in with look at guys, looking at that schedule, and could they potentially be playing in bad weather at that time? And that's is it gonna impact the quarterbacks? Is it gonna impact the receivers? That to me is a big thing. That's why I'm a big on trying to get the dome quarterbacks though. Someone like Josh Allen, he could be on. What was that?
Would you trade Josh Allen then?
No, he could play on the moon and still
right.
throw those lasers. Yeah, yeah. Allen, Mahomes, those guys, they seem to be weatherproof because. Yeah, I mean, I think we all saw that playoff game where the Buffalo, where it was like 1 degree or something like that, and the Bills put up like 49 points and didn't even punt that day. So it's like, yes, he is.
You remember like a few years back? 5 years back or so. I'll never forget this because I had Tom Brady, and I forget where they were playing at. It might have been New England, and it was whiteout, snow everywhere. And I'm going, oh, there's no way. Should I start this guy? I can't start him. There was no one I could pick up. I only had one quarterback on my roster. And I go, this is going to be horrible. The guy throws like 4 touchdowns that day in the snow. And I'm going, what the heck? This is great, man. And leave it to Brady. But, so you never know. You never know. The good ones are always going to produce.
And one of the things that I've heard people talk about is that especially quarterbacks, they say that snow doesn't bother them as much because unless it's wet snow.
Yeah.
But that's one part of it. But they said the big thing is the wind. If there's not a lot of wind, they can play with it. If
Right.
there's snow and wind, then it becomes problematic. But yeah,
Yeah.
oh,
It's almost like
Brady.
a pitcher in a way, because I know that when you're going to a place where it is freezing and you're in the locker room and all the players are in there going, oh my God, this is going to be horrible today. Nobody wants to hit. And I'm going, as a pitcher, you're thinking, you're taking the reverse psychology of it. I'm going, God, this is a great day to pitch. Because what happens is that you are the guy that's the most loose out there. You're warmed up, you're moving every single pitch, everything. You feel fine, once you get loose. The other guys are like free. You see them sitting in the dugout, they got gloves on, they're all bundled up in their jackets. Now they got to take the jacket off to go up and hit. Mentally, I've already beaten this guy. And so quarterbacks are kind of like that too when you get into that cold weather like that.
Oh man, Candy, this has been awesome. This has just been so. This even surpassed what I thought, and I already had high expectations for it. Oh, I did want to ask your favorite NFL team, and does that impact fantasy football for you?
It does. It's the 49ers. I grew up in the Bay Area. I had a cousin that was the equipment manager for the 49ers. So I was there all through the 80s and became friends with Montana. In fact, I'll never forget the Super Bowl where they played the Broncos. They won, 55-10, I think it was. And so the game was over. So Joe invited myself and my cousin, who was the equipment manager, over to his room, which was right next door. And we sat there and toasted after that game with Joe, his mom and dad, and his wife, Jennifer, me and my cousin. And before they went down to the NFL party downstairs. So we just went through a whole bottle of champagne talking about the game. And, and I still, trade Christmas cards with Ronnie Lott all the time. Very good friends with Frank Pollock, who's now the offensive lineman or line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I play golf with him all the time for the 49ers. So a lot of those guys I've kind of stayed in touch with. But so the 49ers are still kind of close to my heart. And that's what made that trade with McCaffrey that much better.
Oh, so sweet. So much sweeter that way. Oh, that's just fantastic. That is just fantastic. Last one, and I kind of like to close off with this one. You're in Arizona, one of the hotbeds of Mexican food. What are some of your favorite dishes?
Well, as we were talking before, I am more excited from Taco Bell bringing back the enchilada. That might have been my favorite Mexican dish of all time. So it's coming back. So I'm into that. Most of the time, I'll take my kids there when they come back from college because they can eat like unbelievable. So I take them to a place called Ajo Al's. It's kind of a little chainy place, but it's just kind of become our little go-to place, which has been just phenomenal.
Oh man. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Candy. Just awesome. Wanted to see, I know you're kind of like well, not quite hibernating because hopefully you're playing a lot of golf right now and enjoying yourself before because spring training will be coming before summer. Anything you want to pump between now that's going on now that you want to give a shout out to?
Not a whole lot's going on. I have 2 big golf tournaments I have in the winter time. One is coming up next week, the Charles Schwab Cup. Last year we won that with Freddie Couples. That was a blast. And then the Waste Management. Love the Waste Management. I played there the last 5-6 years or so. Last year was great playing with Bubba Watson. And you get to that 16th hole, there is nothing like that in all of sports. I swear to God, that is the best experience ever. So those are the 2 golf tournaments that I really gear up for, and that's really kind of about it in my life.
That 16th hole, how does that compare to being on a mound?
You can't even talk when you're down there. People are so rowdy down there. It's the loudest thing ever. I'll compare it to one thing. I started the 1991 playoff game, game one of the Blue Jays against the Twins. So that was the ALCS, and at that time, and we go into the Metrodome at that time, and that had to be the loudest place I have ever tried to warm up in. You couldn't even talk to my catcher, my pitching coach. It was that loud. That's what the 16th hole is like. It's unbelievable.
Oh man, that's awesome. Have you come close to holing one out there?
No, but I did hit the green last year, got a high five from Bubba. And when you hit the green with everyone screaming at you, plus, I could barely even I had the worst time putting the tee in the ground. It was so hard. And it felt like I was standing over the tee for like a minute. And I just dropped the ball and hit it just to go. And thank God it went on the green. So, I was happy about that. They should make a shirt for that. I hit the green on 16.
You hit it. Yeah, perfect alliteration there. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, well, Familia, I really hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have, because I mean, gosh, I'm still cracking up. I've still got happy tears going on. Familia, please follow Candy at Tom Candiotti on Twitter, and also make sure you're tuning into Arizona Diamondbacks broadcasts. Spring training is only. I know. What was it? Thomas Boswell said time begins on opening day, but for me, it really once the New Year comes along, it feels like spring training is right around the corner, and you live there, so it's much
Oh,
easier.
yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. Best time of year.
Oh man. Well, enjoy the second best time of year, which is right now, the last couple months of the season, where football is just it just means so much. So again, Tom, muchas gracias. Thank you for joining us. And Familia, thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please make sure you're going to fantasypoints.com. Go put in the promo code 22Familia10 and get you that 10% off. I push out all my content out on Twitter at Jorge Martin 17. Also go to familiaffb.com. And there will be a feature story on fantasypoints.com on this very interview. So be on the lookout for it, hopefully next week. So again, to our invitado de lujo, muchas gracias, gracias, as they say in Italian. And to you, familia, remember, todos somos familia. Salud.